Welcome to the season of self-love, your daily dose of inspiration and encouragement. I'm your host, Nyomi Banks, and I am thrilled to be here with you today. This podcast is brought to you by Ask Nyomi and Elevate Me Self-Discovery. Are you ready to elevate your mindset and embrace the power of self-love? Or have you come to the right place? Each day we'll dive into topics that will empower and inspire you on your journey towards self-discovery and personal growth. Whether you're looking to cultivate healthy relationships, boost your confidence, or find balance in your life, this podcast is here to support your every step on the way. We believe that self-love is the foundation of living a fulfilled and joyful life. And together we explore practical tips, insightful interviews, and transformative stories that will leave you feeling inspired and motivated. So join me Monday through Friday as we embark on this daily adventure of self-love. Tune into the Season of Self-Love podcast to start your day on a positive note and discover the limitless potential within yourself. Hey, well, welcome back to the Season of Self-Love podcast. I am your host, Nyomi Banks, and I am here to guide you to another journey of healing and empowerment. But this week, we continue our series on Healing Beyond Betrayal. And today, we are diving deep into strategies for rebuilding self-worth after experiencing betrayal. But joining us today is Dr. Will Washington. You know who he is. He's our resident therapist who specializes in all of that, the trauma, the self-worth, everything there and above. And we're going to welcome him back as soon as we take a quick break. And then we're going to come back. And Dr. Will is going to help us on with rebuilding our strategies for healing beyond betrayal, all right? It's your girl, Goddess Nyomi Banks here on the Season of Self-Love podcast, and we'll be right back.
Washington Wellness Institute focuses on healing always. For me, if I look good, then I feel good. If I feel good, then I share the good. If I share the good, then I celebrate the good. If I celebrate the good, then I live the good. So I can be paid to be my greatest. But I have to learn the good to be the good.
So, what does it take to be the greatest? It's as simple as a free 15-minute consultation. Be kind to yourself and heal always.
What are some common barriers that prevent people from expressing? Hey, it's your girl, Goddess Nyomi Banks here from the Season of Self-Love podcast.
Yeah, I would say remorse. So shame and guilt is a very dividing emotional.
And these are one of the many amazing conversations that we have every day, Monday through Friday, right here on the Season of Self-Love podcast with myself, Nyomi Banks, as well as our resident therapist, Dr. Will Washington of Washington Wellness Institute. Come by.
The reality of our relationships with people.
Come by.
And a lot of times we're afraid of how people look at us. And so that compassion can't enter.
You can hit us on the website,
really
the Season of Self-Love podcast.com. Let me ask you this, with the truth, is it... All right, well, welcome back to the Season of Self-Love podcast. I am your host, Nyomi Banks, and today we're talking about strategies for rebuilding self-worth after experiencing betrayal. And we have our resident therapist, Dr. Will. Hey, Dr. Will, welcome back.
It is so wonderful to be back. I am elated and excited right now.
See, there it is. I'm elated. There we go.
Alliteration. That's my thing. I love alliteration.
I love it. All right, guys, before we start we're going to take this moment to center ourselves with the short guided meditation where you are. I just invite you to find a very comfortable position. I want you to close your eyes and just get ready. Begin by finding a comfortable position, either seated or laying down. Now I want you to close your eyes and gently take a deep breath in through your nose, filling your lungs completely. I want you to hold it for just one moment. Now exhale slowly through your mouth, releasing any tension that you might be holding on to. I want you to inhale again deeply. Feel your chest rise. Hold. Now exhale. Letting go of any distractions or worries. Allow your breath to find its natural rhythm. Now as you breathe, imagine a warm golden light surrounding you. bringing comfort and safety with each inhale. It draws in this light, this feeling that fills you with love and strength. Now with each exhale, release any feelings of doubt or fear. Now repeat silently to yourself, I am worthy. I am enough. I want you to take one final deep breath in and slowly let it out. And when you are ready, gently open your eyes and feel grounded and centered as we dive into today's topic. All right, my beautiful people, thank you for joining me on that nice little guided meditation right there. And if you're new here to the Season of Self-Love podcast, it's something we do every day, Monday through Friday. I'm here just to help center and ground us before we get into the topic in hand. I know I'm feeling more centered. How about yourself, Dr. Will?
I feel really good. I
Yeah.
feel really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was,
I put the light on. I was like,
yeah.
this is nice. Let me get some more light in here. I was like, feels good. Like, feels really nice. Yeah. Wow.
All right. So I'm glad that we are feeling more centered. We get ready to talk about this
Mhm.
rebuilding self-worth post-betrayal. So Dr. Will, could you start by explaining why self-worth is so impacted by betrayal?
Yes, self-worth is so impacted by betrayal because what we thought we were, who we thought we were, what we thought this was, what we hoped this was, what we believed this to be is no longer the same value that it started with. And we recognize how lack of control that we had or we thought we had, right? The comfort and security has been taken from us. So self-worth, it makes you question the power that you trusted in the thing that you went through. And so betrayal can really turn our self-worth into doubt or uncertainty or ambivalence, right? That uncertainty to go left or right. You just don't know how to take ownership back to yourself.
Right.
So self-worth can really be challenged because of betrayal.
Right. So because a lot of people don't know about self-worth, honestly. We say this word, but what is it?
It sounds good.
How do we, right, it sounds good. So how do we know? So we just go with betrayal. That just did that shit, or that bitch just did that, What are the signs for someone who's just been going through betrayal? How do we know that our self-worth is shaken? And what is that? What does that feel like? What signs do we know that that our self-worth has been shaken?
Yeah, you actually go away from your own integrity, right? Your character changes. You might open yourself up to things that you wouldn't do normally. Your standards change. Your intentions may change. You might choose convenience over quality of life. You might end up shutting out other people or yourself from the things that you actually deserve to experience. You even sometimes count yourself out before you even count yourself in. You start doing a lot of external self-inflicting behaviors that cause you to actually take away from the things that made you so promising and that did give you the confidence to be who you've always been.
Right. Yeah. It's funny that you say that when I thinking about the very first betrayal that I, as an adult, let me say as an adult, because the very first betrayal that I feel that came from that sense of abandonment for me. But we're going to go past that. We're going to go to the adulthood. And when you were talking about knowing of being shaken, your self-worth being shaken. And I remember when my first husband had cheated on me. And I'm laughing now. Because instead of me just leaving the situation, I'm like, okay, I'm about to up you. I'm laughing now, but during that time, it was like pure chaos, like that was going on, and I just remember that. I remember like I said I would never do that. But then, like you just said, that my whole self-worth, everything was shaking. So now I had to prove that I was more worthy than he was, that I can do it, and I can up him on this one, and I can, I'm
Right.
being slick, and how I can do this because I told him he didn't have to do it. What I told him is that, look, let me know what's happening. Don't let me find
Mm-hmm.
out nobody else. But that didn't happen. So now I'm getting ready to flip it on you, and I'm getting ready to show you two words don't make it right. The shame on me, but
Yeah.
now I see what that was. It was just me. My self-worth was shaken. I had to prove something, such and such and such. And I can't blame him because I still had a choice.
Right. And what happens in betrayal, though, you start losing. When you go with betrayal, you lose the feeling of options, which
Yeah.
also is a form of losing self-worth, because if you were truly worthy, you know that you always have a choice. You
Yeah.
always have an option. You always have opportunity to
Yeah.
choose who you want to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. All right. So let's do this. Let's dive into those strategies. What are some effective ways to start rebuilding our self-worth?
Yes. Before we can get into self-worth, we have to start from the beginning, which is, what do you actually value?
Mm.
We don't really know what we value. We usually just get into a relationship and we like how it's going. We like the way it feels. The vibes are right. The moments and the connection feels good, but we don't
Mhm.
really know what we value, right? And a lot of times we value how that person makes us feel, but we never value who we were to be present to experience that,
Mhm.
right? We never understand what made us who we are to actually experience how good that was. We don't
Mhm.
think about it that way. And so you're looking at, how do you internally see value, right? So what do you value about yourself, right? And then once you get through the actual valuing of yourself, then you got to kind of try to put a price on it. This is where
Mhm.
standards come into play. No, you can't put a price on being honorable, but you can also understand that there's a standard
Mhm.
that has to be met. If I value the color red, I'm going to make sure I don't wear any shade that's outside of red.
Mhm.
The moment I start looking at the color green, that's not, I can't bend that way.
Yeah.
Or I have to say something before I do that. So you have to put a price on the value of the things that you do. And
Mm.
then you have to love it. You
Mhm.
have to love it. A lot of us don't love the things we value. We just end up connecting, or other people validate the things that we value. So, but we never put it for ourselves. That's why I love artists so much, because artists take the time out to learn the craft, learn the value of music, learn the value of these things, and they get so into this that whether they play a $10 guitar or they play a $10,000 guitar, it still sounds amazing to people
Something
that
to
have
them.
not put the
Mhm.
work in, right? So on the outside, they're still like, this is amazing. But for someone else that put another $10,000 dollars into it and did the work, they would be like, oh, I can hear the difference, right? Because they also put that love into it.
Yeah.
And so if you don't understand the value, create the standard and put the love into it, we can't really get into self-worth, because a lot of the validation is really internal reciprocity.
Mhm.
It's internal reciprocity. What I do is within myself, for myself, because of myself. Right. And a lot of times we lose that direction when we're experiencing post betrayal.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. I'm about to go a little to the left a little bit. When getting into the relationships, and let's be very honest, we're getting into these relationships, and correct me if I'm wrong, follow me down this road. When you are in the relationship with someone, and then say that that other person does the betrayal to you, what I've been learning, or what I've been hearing lately, is that sometimes we attract those that, like we're what can you say, what's the word, like we bring that energy that allows the people to know that we are available for the hurt of the betrayal.
Mm, attachments.
Yeah.
So for social purposes, right?
Hmm.
Um, it's kind of like when you watch somebody on social media and they always post pictures of themselves, and then you're like, they post a lot, and then they just go ghost. You're like, what happened? And then they pop back up and it's a whole different type of person. They got a whole life, they got a new kid, they got a dude, that whatever it may be. But
Hmm.
then they go away again, and they're both back to posting pictures again. During that time frame between those moments, people are watching. And the thing is that people have always been watching. They just knew that you weren't going to pay attention to them because they knew you were focused on something else in your life. And so those people you attract aren't just because it's new. It's because they've always been watching you, and they've been kind of praying, right? So I call it vulturing, where it's kind of like they just circle around close enough to know that, close enough to watch you, but never close enough to know that you're a threat, right? You know, and that's and so a lot of times you're also putting energy out that, once again, because of self-worth issues, you don't understand the value of your time, right? And so a lot of times time is a resource used for limitation or application. That's principle 3, right?
Yeah.
And so when you don't see that your time of being hurt is actually harming your own standard, you go for convenience rather than quality.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And those attachments can be really, those attachments can be very deadly.
Yeah.
Emotionally malignant as well.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about support. You know, a lot of times when you go through betrayal, some people keep it to themselves. Some people keep them to themselves. Some people tell the wrong people, and it gets around. One of the things that I have in my challenge is choosing the right people to be a support system to you. You know what I'm saying? That can be there to help. Tell our listeners how important a support system is in this process.
Yes. When I say it is imperative, it is essential, it is vital to your wellness. When you think about trauma doesn't happen alone. So that means that healing doesn't happen alone either. So when you go through something traumatic, it wasn't just you. It was you in the car, you in a person, place, or thing. There's a relationship, right? In some way. And so your healing has to also be in some way too. You're going to heal with a thing, a music, a person, whatever. You're going to need that support. And it's so important to do that. And that's one of the first things I ask people when they tell me their traumas. I say, well, who do you talk to outside of me? You know, and the people they choose are really, I'm not saying they're not good people, but they chose the convenience of people that were around rather than the quality of who was there. And it's really important to understand that if you do not have at least 2 people, I would say I have one person where I can say everything, and I have one person that I know is going to give me a direction. Because I had to ask myself, why do I have this friend for this moment? What are they here for? And we never ask that. Why is that friend in your life? What are they here for? What are they supposed to listen to when you talk? Right? Because sometimes you just need to hear yourself.
Right.
You know? So having a support system is so vital. And you have to ask yourself, what am I getting in this conversation with this person?
Yeah.
It's so important.
Yeah, it is. So let me share a quick story with you all. And this just was something that kind of it relates to just having a group of people or a support system around with me. Very brief. So I'm trying to say, I was in my 20s. I was in my mid-20s, and I remember going through yet another incident with infidelity. All right, with infidelity. And the reason why I went back was because my family was very religious, very religious. They said once you married, there is no divorce because you get married again, that don't count. So
Right.
you chose him. This is what it is, and so you just got to make it work. Just period. But when you constantly feel that betrayal, you don't know what to do. So I remember speaking to one of my aunts, well, actually 2 of them. One of them had a very successful relationship, marriage. They both are my best friends. And I remember having a conversation with her. And I remember she was the one who told me, love myself more than I love myself. That means continue to keep loving on yourself regardless to anything. Don't look for anybody to love on you. Just keep loving yourself. In that wording with her telling me that is that I have to stop listening to those outside of me, whether if it was my grandmother, my mother, or whoever, that I have to do what's best for me in my healing process to go beyond that. If I want it to stop, then I have to stop showing up for that relationship. Does that make sense? And in that process, there is now a baby being conceived. There's a baby that's being conceived from this now after the fact. So actually, I was in my late 20s, almost 30. And with this one, and when I tell this story, I'm like, for real, Naomi, with this one, I had to go get help to have a baby. And I was on bed rest the whole entire time. And it was the doctor really asked me if I will abort the baby. And I was like, no, I'm going to go ahead and go through this whole thing because I knew that when I tell you I went through some shit with this dude, we went through counseling, counseling and everything. And his whole thing was that I did not have a baby with him as of yet. Wow. And I said that I wasn't having a baby we had to be married for 10 years, but he wanted a baby by me. So I figured, let's save the relationship. We're going to save the marriage. We're going to do this. So let me go see what's going on with me, such and such and such. And sure enough, it was me, going on. And I went through that. I went through the shooting in my stomach with all of that, everything. Wow. Then I remember phone calls, cheating, right in my face, blasted. So I had made the decision to abort the baby because I knew that I did not want to have another child and not be with the father. You understand what I'm saying? So right. I couldn't bring this baby into this whole system.
You didn't want the cycle.
Right. I didn't want that. And I was on my way to getting a divorce. I remember the day of me going, one of my friends, she met me there. My good girlfriend and her husband dropped me off. He's nowhere to be found. This ain't my boyfriend. This is my husband. And we sat and made the decision that this is what we're going to do because we don't know where we're going to be at. It's making you sick. This is one of the options that the doctor gave you. You now made the decision to do it. So we're going to try to work that. Nowhere to be seen. Nowhere.
Wow.
Nowhere.
Wow.
Until I got there. So let me tell you, he came and he said, if I do that will be the end of our relationship. And when I looked, it was just another sense of betrayal that came down because we had already made a decision on what it is, on what we was going to do and work on. I remember getting in my car on my way to California. I was on my way to California. I took my girlfriend to my house. She was going to stay for me the whole weekend. I've never done this before. I don't know. This was one betrayal. This was against anything that I ever believed in. Right. And I remember sitting with my aunts and talking with them about this. So in that moment, I had 4 people that were 5 people that I truly trust that was in my circle that really held me down during that whole time. Wow. I went through betrayal. I went through shame. I went through being mad at myself because I knew I shouldn't have went back. Like I shouldn't have went back. Like all of those things happened within that day. And then it was like I found myself in a car, went and picked up my oldest baby and driving. I don't know how I was getting there, but I was driving to California.
Wow.
I got all the way, I think, to Kankakee. I'm okay.
out in the boonies.
Out in the boonies. And my dad called me. Out of anybody, my dad called me and he said, "What you doing, baby girl?" I said, "I'm on my way to California." He said, what's happening in California? He said, you got that record deal yet? I said, no, we just gonna go. He said, who is we? I said, me and my baby, we just go. He said, no, you need to come on back here so I can talk to you because you got a lot of stuff that you need to do. And I like, no, I'm going. So I guess somebody told my dad what was happening. What was happening. And I went. But then when I got back and I stopped and I heard everything my dad told me, and I went back home. I went back to my mom's and I sat there, and my dad just told me, baby, that was meant to be. He showed you everything that you needed to know. Everything you needed to know. So now you have your closure. So walk, leave. There is nothing else. You ain't got to tit for tat with him. Go. He already showed you.
He gave you the door when he said it.
He gave me the door when I said it. But guess what? I still wasn't healed. I still wasn't healed from the betrayal. Fast forward 6 or 7 months later, me and my girlfriends go out. Listen to this. We go out. I got a little itch. Y'all know what that itch is. You know when you go to the club, right?
Uh-huh.
And get a little horny. And so I'm like, I ain't got nobody at home. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not going to pick up no strangers. So I'm going to call somebody who I know who going to give me something and toot. And guess what happened? I got pregnant. Found out on Christmas Day.
Wow.
Merry Christmas.
That was your present.
Merry Christmas.
Wow.
Merry Christmas.
That's amazing. Wow.
And in this one, and I know I said a short story, but it's going to come back around to where I truly knew that it was time for me to move on. That whole pregnancy, I was literally could not work, nothing. I was supposed to have my legs elevated at least 24 hours a day. I go to the bathroom. That was the whole thing for me because I had cysts of the size of a baseball that was filled, and it was steady growing along within the fetus, and fibroids all at the same time. Yeah. So
goodness.
In this instance, he was still acting ass through the whole pregnancy. But again, I had my community around me that kept me sane and kept me grounded, just was holding me down. My grandma, everybody was just holding me down through this whole thing. And then the last straw, yet again, was I walked in on him. And that's it. This is it. That's it. That's 3 hard strikes for me.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah.
And I went to the hotel for 2 or 3 days. And in that hotel room for them 3 or 4 days, I went through my healing. And I did not go back.
Wow. You
I
left
can
it
talk
there.
to this man like I'm not even mad at him. I said, thank you for my baby. After that, a few months later, I tried to file for divorce and have been trying to do it for a while. And that's it.
Wow.
But it took me a minute.
That's they always say like you either heal when you want to or when you get sick of yourself.
Yeah. And I was sick of my damn self. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where there are so many signs that we're given in this world.
Yeah.
So many signs. And what you're talking about is that spiritual obedience.
Yeah.
When to recognize a sign, but then how to take heed to the sign. And a lot of times we don't have that discipline to look at and then trust that that sign is meant for me.
Yeah.
Right? Because usually it means there's a responsibility or a discipline that's supposed to happen in that.
Yeah.
And the only time you can ever get a reward is when you're disciplined. You don't get a reward for being motivated. You don't get a reward for having a standard. You don't get you get a reward for being disciplined.
Yeah.
And so the fact that you had somebody, you could have stayed in their world, right? But it would have never been your world.
No.
It would have never been your world.
Never.
Wow.
Never. And when I look back on it now, and even years ago, when I look back on it, I just always think that I went through that. I really do, because even when I sit down with my girls, I can sit with them not only as a mother, but as somebody to tell them, when you decide to get in a relationship, that's a responsibility that you have for that other person.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
there's,
And
yeah,
that's a, see, say that again. I like that. Say that
yeah.
again.
When you're in a
I like
relationship with someone else, you have a responsibility for that other person.
that. You do.
You do. I'm telling you, a lot of people are not taught that. They're not.
I'm not
When
taught
we
that.
say self-love is selfish, it is to a certain point. We ain't talking about just to care about yourself and not give a hell about nobody else.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what that means, you know. But you do have to care about, if you know you this way and that person like that way, then y'all need to be together. Because there is no
Mm-hmm.
reason why we need to be in this relationship and you like A, I like
Mm-hmm.
B, and we what?
Yes. And that's I'm so glad you said that, because I have a new way of courting
Mhm.
phase where, like, it's like the talking phase and all those stages. So I've created a new phase program with that. And we talk about how there's compatibility, companionship,
Mhm.
couplehood, partnership, then marriage. And a lot of times we're in this companionship moment where it's
Mhm.
like, well, if you play tag, I play tag, then we can play. Or you like tag and I like hide and go seek. Well, we're not playing the same game, which means that it's never going to really work out, but we
Yeah.
can have fun, but it's never going to work out. And we always forget that we are really not compatible with a lot of people. If you really know who you are, you
Yeah.
have to see the signs of you not being compatible with people and trust that it's okay.
Yeah.
But a lot of us get so worried about being alone or
Yeah.
lonely that we kind of, once again, we remove our value, we change what our standard is, and then we don't know how to put love into it. We just put passion, lust, excitement, these
Yeah.
things that make us feel like we're alive. But then once it all settles, it's like, what do I have left?
Right. Right.
And and then it becomes an emotional liability, or you become emotionally compromised,
Yeah.
right? Where you don't
Mm.
know why you even feel mad, why do you even feel happy, why do you even feel, what is the feeling? And the only thing that actually makes you feel something is when you're in pain.
Right.
A lot of times we pain can create so much life in us that we
Mhm.
believe that our purpose is through our pain.
Yeah.
It's like, no, that's not what that is. That doesn't give you a healthy residual.
But
So
I think,
that your story is amazing. That
yeah.
story is amazing.
Right.
Thank you
But
for sharing that.
right. But I want to say something about your pain is not your purpose. So we can look at it a different way, and I'm going to try to
Mm-hmm.
flip it around for a different way. When you're going through the pain, and it's to look at it from a different perspective, especially when you're going through the healing process of it, and you're able to share the story of that pain. So you're giving it a description and a meaning to make it make
Mm-hmm.
sense with you, that we all go through something in life. And so within that pain, that gift is the purpose that we find in it. So when
Mm-hmm.
it said meaning the pain is the purpose, it's the gift in the pain that we have found in it.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of allowing just to be the pain, we have to look at every situation that we come to in life, period. You know, even what you shared with us a few days ago about the infidelity on your part.
Mm-hmm.
And that pain that you caused,
Mm-hmm.
you also learned something from that pain
Right.
that eventually turned into part of your purpose. You understand what I'm
Yes.
saying? So in
I
that,
see what you're saying. Mm-hmm.
you see what I'm saying? So, and I just wanted to make sure that when we say this and people hold,
Mm-hmm.
I understand what that is, because throughout even that part of my pain, I'm using it as my purpose. I'm now a certified
Yeah.
relationship coach. You understand what I'm
Right.
saying? So we want to make sure that we are allowing people to find a
Mm-hmm.
gift in that pain, find the gift in that trauma, not
Mm-hmm.
hold on to
Yes.
the victim of that trauma or the victim of that pain. Because when we hold on and we stay that victim,
You
we don't
become
allow
the abuser.
ourselves to grow and become the victor at the end of it. So when our pain
Mm-hmm.
becomes a purpose, we are now the victor of that victim that we were.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that you said that. So a lot of times, but what will happen is I see people talk about their pain, but then
Mm-hmm.
they stop their story right there. So then they go
Mm-hmm.
back to the beginning of their pain again, and they
Mm-hmm.
keep recycling and recycling their pain, never actually looking at it from the outside in,
Yeah.
right? and being able to actually have the power to actually step outside of their pain to see that. Because even when we talk about legacy burdens, the higher the legacy burden, you get legacy heirlooms.
Yeah.
You get the wisdom, you get the awareness, you get the heirlooms of that burden. And usually the higher the burden, the higher the heirloom.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times you have to dig through that. And so what I notice is that people come to me stuck or still in their pain because it's gotten too comfortable, because it was lustful, right?
Yeah.
It was very like, it just gave so much life. And then like, well, who am I going to be
Some people
after
wear
this
it as a
pain?
badge. Some people wear it as a badge. Have you seen people just walk
And
around?
they justify how they treat other people
There
because
you
of
go.
their pain. It's like,
Yes.
no,
Yes.
that's not what this is. And
Yes.
your purpose doesn't feel like it. Your purpose doesn't feel like it needs your pain, right? The pain, the story of your pain was like a Bible in itself, just basic instructions before loving everyone, right? And loving yourself. And a lot of times we don't look at purpose as a way to love ourselves and others. And if you don't heal from pain, you'll never see that. You'll
Right.
never use it. You'll never use it yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm glad thank you for clearing that up.
Yeah. See, we got this. I told you we got y'all.
It's real. It's real.
Somebody said, my pain is my purpose. What Dr. We're talking about?
But pain can be your purpose, but hopefully pain is your purpose in the way that you won't live through your pain. Because a lot of us are living through our pain, thinking that because I felt something, I deserve to be treated a certain way.
Yeah. Yeah.
What?
But right. But then this is where it all comes right here. It really does. This is where it comes to doing the work. What I say doing the work is listening to podcasts like this or any other podcast, and then going to seek someone, whether it is a coach or whether it is a therapist. Truly, like, honestly, if it's like, I can't do this shit on my own, well, go find somebody. It was really go find somebody. And even if it's that wisdom, that elder person, or even that friend that go and you can trust them, go talk to them. That's a part of that community of people. Yes. And what I do like right now, there's a light and dark, or a negative and positive when it comes to social media. But there's a lot of social groups, especially Facebook group, a lot of social groups where people can, talk to each other. I'm like in 50 now, different ones. And I see how the people that come together in there and they helping each other in these groups. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes you need that, even if you can sign up anonymous until you are comfortable with your identity or who you are to share that story with. You understand what I'm saying? And so that's what it's good to have those different stories, those different support systems around to be able to do that,
Yeah. I think that the big take home of this is that I always tell clients, the more you tell your story, the less you become of it. And you have to be able to tell your story, or you will continue its tragedy, right? And what does trauma do? Trauma makes you feel like you're the only one in the world experiencing a problem.
Yeah.
And then when you actually start saying it, you're normalizing it. You're normalizing what that pain did. And once you normalize it, you realize that I was like, oh, you went through it too? Oh, you went through it too. So I'm not the only person that went through something bad. Well, then what did you do? Right?
Yeah.
It provides curiosity. Curiosity kills a lot of mental health issues. Curiosity kills a lot of mental health issues. And if you can just begin by just being curious about your story, it changes everything.
Yeah.
Like please write your story out. Because I'm telling you, we talk about secondary trauma a lot, where it's like compassion fatigue, burnout, moral distress, these type of things. But we don't talk about what I love talking about is secondary healing. Me learning about your healing makes me inspired to learn about my own healing.
Yeah.
I see my healing through your healing because you're living your healing. You're walking your healing. So now I am learning what my healing could be if I walk through it. And that's what makes communities like what you have is so beautiful, is that you can offer a chance to be seen and for them to see themselves.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. Like I always say, this is probably the most nakedness that I've ever been, and I like naked. I like to be free.
Like, I know what I like. I'm
You
nature
know,
girl.
yes, I know this is what I like. And can I say it feels good? People say, do it feel good all the time? No. And let me tell you why. It's because the things that I'm healing from, there are triggers. Life is still happening even as you heal. But the difference is that now I have the tools. Now I understand why they're there. I can't erase them. We can't erase them. We just can't. And how I can say that we can't erase them. My mother is 72 years old, was just diagnosed with dementia. And to this day, she still remembers. That's the only thing that she remembers is the betrayal and hurt that was caused to her. That's it. Nothing else. So imagine that. Imagine if you thought that you had healed all along and now, bam, you hit and you have to go through that all over again.
Right.
Now, right now, I'm living through dimension with her, but she's living with it. So now I'm watching a movie. So as you said that I'm watching all of that, taking notes and everything.
You getting all
So
your airlift. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Can I ask you a question? So what do you think holds people back from wanting to be naked again? Or what holds people back from that?
fear.
Mm.
Fear.
Mm.
Remember I told you just a few weeks ago that fear was looking right at me, staring me right in my face. Like, now what you
Yeah.
gonna do? Like, now what you gonna do? Oh, you did all this. Now what you gonna do? That's why I stopped hanging on that thing. And I went on and jumped. Because before, honestly, and this is so crazy, before I got into the adult industry, I was a jumper. I would jump. Bam. But as soon as I got into the adult industry, it's like I had to put on all the clothes. Even though on film I'm butt ass naked. But in life, I had to put on all of the clothes. Now I had to make myself come. I had to be safe. I had to make myself safe. Then fear started to come. Ain't that right? Ain't that
Wow.
crazy?
It
Yeah.
gets sense that like you're talking about earlier, like it attracts,
Yes.
right? It
Yes.
attracts because it feels you not living your truth. So it's like, oh,
Yes.
oh, you're not using your truth today. Let me see what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Ah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so
And I
this
think,
journey.
oh,
Go ahead.
I'll say because when you think about post betrayal and then fear, right? The fear of having to admit the truth of what just really happened, what you think happened and what actually happened, and having to accept what is genuinely happening or
Yeah.
what it really is. And principle one, the action is never the reason. It's not because they cheated. It wasn't because of that. It was because you weren't who you said you were going to be. I wasn't enough for what you think. But the truth is that, it was never about me.
Mm-hmm.
It was about what you didn't have for yourself.
Yeah.
But you made
Exactly.
me believe that it was,
Yeah.
right? The fear of
Exactly.
having to accept that I have to move on. And I was really hoping the best for us.
Yeah. Yeah. And
I
I'm
believed in them.
yeah. When you now looking back on all of my relationships, really looking back, like I shouldn't have been in none of them relationships. I don't seriously, like, no, I shouldn't have been in none of those relationships because I
Right.
mean, yes, my parents were together until my father passed away, but that wasn't no good ass. You know what I'm saying? When you look at
Yeah.
it, see, these are relationships and feelings and emotions and trauma that you have inherited from watching.
Yes.
And so it's like, no, so would you say that second healing, you get the
Secondary healing.
secondhand
Yeah.
betrayal.
Mm-hmm.
You get the secondhand betrayal.
one of the
Yeah.
conversations I had shared that
Wow.
my father had been, he was an alcoholic, and he had dabbled in drugs. And I remember going in and out rehab with him, in and out of rehab. My mom made sure that she was, my mom was perfect. She wanted her home to be perfect, like the Cosby Show. So she had to make sure that he was getting some help, not understanding that there was other healing that at the core that needed to be done, and could nobody else do it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And me
Yeah.
watching that, it's like, okay, I'm gonna make sure that I don't pick anybody or choose anybody who drinks or do that. So everything of a negative that my father was, I was trying to find that of the opposite of that. And then
Yeah.
and so in that it reenacted, even as my mother, or who she was, now understanding she had to be that way. Then as a child, I didn't understand that, but now as an adult, as a mother, as a wife, I have to understand that all of that. So all of those relationships before, nah, really, if I was in sound mind, I wasn't. But then when I think about it, I was supposed to go through each one of those relationships, because what it did,
Wow.
it made me to appreciate, and also to have my book. By the time I got to my last man, I had my book, and this is who I am, and this is what it is.
Right.
We don't do cheating. Let me tell you why. If you feel like you want
Mhm.
something out there, let me know. And if she found, bring her home, and we do it together. When you tell that to
Mhm.
somebody else, they wasn't understanding that. So
Right.
right now, I'm telling you exactly who I am. So then there is
Mhm.
we can put everything right here.
Right. And then I think the hardest part about that is that people are afraid to do that because they're like, "Oh, you don't like this part? Oh, well, okay, we're just here." And then eventually, after a while, they get comfortable. Oh, but you knew this. No, but you said you were taking the other half of the book out, and to have the strength to put this right here is huge.
Yeah.
And I think that could be a whole talk right there. Just
Oh
what does
yeah.
it take to keep that there and not change that?
Yeah.
To
And
have
I
the sit in that. Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
haven't. And I haven't. And I think
Mhm.
even with him, he looks at me like, damn, you ain't changed. No, if anything, I added some more stuff on it, as we added some more stuff as we go. But that book is
Mhm.
that book, you know,
Right.
period. And it's not like it's a bad thing or nothing like that. That's not
Mm.
it. I'm just telling
No.
you who I am and what my expectation is. And you
That is
tell me
your
the
truth.
same. That is my truth.
Mhm.
And that's all that I can give. I cannot go another 10, 20, 30 years like I did before. I cannot do
Mhm.
that. And
Right.
plus, I need to make sure that you know who I am, so I know who you are, so we can be the real Bonnie and Clyde out in this. You understand what I'm saying?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, because in the day, what you want is love and to be loved.
Yes,
And this is
yes,
the best way to love me.
yes,
And this is the best way to get the love back in return.
yes.
That's
That's
it.
that's it. That is
Mm.
it. Yeah.
Hmm.
All right. Well, we here. We are here at the end of our conversation.
It's always a pleasure.
It is so much. I wanted to do this because I know it is going out to the weekend. I don't know. Would you like to close us out going out the weekend?
Ooh, what do you want me to do?
A
Yeah.
nice
What do
little
you like me to do?
meditation. Take us out.
Okay. Okay. Well, I invite you to first just relax your body. Take some time out to just feel the breath in with your nose, out with your mouth. Allow your shoulders to relax. Allow your stomach to relax. Allow your hands to be rested. Breathe in with your nose. Breathe out with your mouth. And I want you to think of the word self-worth. Allow that word to fill your body. Allow the goodness of who you've been, who you are, how you've helped people. Be you. reflect on how your relationships, how they were never perfect, but you still learned who you are. Deep breath in with your nose, out with your mouth. And the affirmation I invite for you to hold to your heart for this weekend. I am enough, and I will be enough. I am enough, and I will be enough. I am enough, and I will be enough. This will start the journey of your self-worth. Keep sensitivity towards the things that you value this weekend. As you come back, slowly open your eyes to understanding that you are enough and you will be enough this weekend.
Thank you. Thank you. That was good, Dr. Will. Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. All right, my beautiful people. Again, thank you, Dr. Will, for your invaluable advice and that beautiful guided meditation and just being with us today.
Yeah, it's so much fun. You enjoy
Any
this
last
weekend.
words?
Be kind to yourself and heal always.
I know that's right. All right, to my listeners, first let me say this. I don't know if you haven't signed. It's still not too late to sign up for the 30-day Hurt to Hope Healing Beyond Betrayal challenge. Yes, we are on day 6, but you can always start from day 1 and continue on. It's a great, and you can join the Facebook group on the Season of Self-Love podcast as well there as well. As well as there is an ebook to actually go along with this series. So you will hear me from time to time talk about different chapters that we talk about. Actually, the story that I shared today is in that book. And I kind of, give the strategies on how I got through that. So I know I just gave you a little bit of piece, but it's still in that book. Like I said, when I sat down and I chose to do this and really live in my purpose and be a vessel, I knew that I had to do it authentic and genuine, and I had to put it all out there. As we mentioned before in this episode about fear, sitting right there with me and saying, now what you gonna do? The good thing about me being in the adult industry is that you all have saw me butt naked doing something that is unexplainable to the world. You understand what I'm saying? So there is nothing that you can do to me to shame me. Does that make sense? So if I know what I put out there in the world in this way, then I should be able to do anything. Anything. I got a tattoo on my back that means God in spirit. I had that way before I got into the industry. I've already titled myself a goddess. I knew that it was God within me, and now I've opened up and He's speaking through me to all of you, and this is what I'm using my platform. So whatever I do, know that it is coming strictly from my heart, from my spirit and my soul. So I'm not going to chip away at none of my stories. I'm going to give it to you real raw and uncut, but also it's to have compassion with it, empathy with it, because I understand everybody go through a journey, and I just welcome you to bring your journey to us. Dr. Will, he's right there in Ohio, but he does do online sessions as well. Make sure you contact with him. If it's something that I can do or help you with, is something that you can't find at Season of Self-Love, Dr. Will is right there. Dr. Will is right there. All right, my beautiful listeners, again, thank you for joining us today. And don't forget to subscribe, share, and your thoughts on the stories on our social media. Leave us a review. We need some reviews. Leave us a review.
I'd love to hear that. Yeah. I wonder what people are thinking.
Exactly. Because we do. We love hearing from you. So have a great weekend. Make sure you guys tune in next week to another episode of the Season of Self-Love. And yes, we're still going to be talking about Healing Beyond Betrayal. All right, have a good one.
Thank you for joining us on this journey of discovery and empowerment here at the Season of Self-Love podcast. Remember, embracing self-love is a continuous journey, and we're so glad to have you with us. So if you enjoyed today's episode, please leave us a review. And don't forget to join our community on Facebook at Season of Self-Love. Connect with like-minded individuals who are also on their self-love journey. Now, if you have any questions or topics that you'd like for us to explore, we love to hear from you. Email us at seasonofselflove@gmail.com and let your voice be heard. So until next time, take a moment for yourself today and remember, you are worthy of love, joy, and all the beautiful things that life has to offer.